Sanctuary was never meant for humankind. It was forged as a refuge from the war between the high heavens and the burning hells. Instead, it became a new battleground in this eternal conflict. A secretive group called the Haradrim has kept mortals safe. But now this once powerful order is a husk of what it was, and Sanctuary's ancient creators have returned to claim the hearts of humankind. This is the story of their downfall.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday. This is the second Diablo 4 developer livestream. My name is Adam Fletcher. I'm the community lead for the Diablo franchise, and I'm joined here by three wonderful guests. We have Meng Song, who is our lead system designer on Diablo 4. Of course, we got Art Peshkov, who is our lead world designer on Diablo 4. And everyone knows Joe Shelley, game director, Diablo 4. We're all here to talk about a lot of stuff actually today about Diablo 4. But I did want to throw out this fun fact because amongst these three gentlemen right here, we have 52 and a half years of experience here at Blizzard in terms of tenure, which is absolutely crazy. And I do want to ask, of course, for all of you guys, what is the first Blizzard title each of you worked on? I'll start with Meng.
I started working on Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne, making multiplayer maps.
That's crazy. I was in college playing Warcraft 3, so yeah. Joe, yourself?
I started on World of Warcraft Burning Crusade.
Burning Crusade over here.
The
Nice.
first thing I worked on was the Curator in Karazhan.
Nice. That was in the last season of Shadowlands and Mythic Plus. They brought back, I know, Karazhan and so forth. So, and then Art.
I started on World of Warcraft, the original. I was a QA analyst. I actually remember testing a bunch of Joe's bombs.
And so that just feels very recent compared to everything else. But yeah, we do have a lot of stuff. We have obviously amazing guests here today, and we have a lot of stuff to actually talk about. And so, I mean, what you guys actually did just see during the countdown right before the stream was our intro cinematic for Diablo 4. That was actually revealed during the IGN FanFest broadcast earlier this month. What's cool is that it was completely done in engine. And so, like, you as a player can now essentially have your character that you create in Diablo 4 appear in all the in-game cinematics, which is really, really cool and something kind of unique within the game.
That's right. Yeah, it's so, you know, we put so much more work into making the story immersive and you know, we asked our engineers to make sure that we could show our in-engine IGCs with really high quality, and also showing off the character that you've customized, because it's so important to be able to personalize your character.
And that's the really cool part about Diablo 4. This is kind of like the first Diablo game where you can really go into heavy customization. I mean, Diablo Immortal also had that as well, but Diablo 4's is like on a really crazy level as well. So it's going to be really cool to see everyone's characters in different cinematics and so forth as you're kind of playing through the game.
On YouTube, there's no audio.
So live stream, we are figuring out YouTube audio issues if people are watching on YouTube right now. If not, we're good. Okay, we're good. Live streams, guys. Now you know it's for sure live. We're live as we figure out technical issues. But we do have a pretty much a packed show to actually kind of go through today. We're going to be giving extra information about the beta and what players are actually going to be experiencing. There's a lot of information we haven't talked about regarding beta that we will be talking about today. Meng is actually going to go over some armor systems in Diablo 4. We have a lot of people that have been asking about system-specific details within Diablo 4, and armor is incredibly important. And so we've got a lot of numbers and graphs to talk about today regarding that. And then Art is going to talk about essentially a new feature for Diablo, which is the Stronghold system within Diablo 4. So a lot to talk about. One quick thing that we did want to call out really quickly, which is the Inarius statue, which is behind me, as I'm like trying to like showcase myself in my hands here. But the Inarius statue, this was announced earlier this month. And we ended up actually putting this up on the gear store. And what's cool about this statue is that it is actually shipping right now. So if you, unlike the Lilith statue, which I know took like a few months to actually ship when that was announced, this one is shipping immediately. So it's really cool looking. Thing is massive. Pairs really well with Lilith. You can have mom and dad there. It's great, you know. I've seen pictures on Reddit of people putting it like side by side. Like some people already have the Inari statue and they have it like side by side on their TVs in their living room. So it's actually really cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, there should be a QR code, I think, up on the screen now. So if you do actually scan the QR code, it does take you to the gear store and to the page to check it out. But beta. Beta is a big topic. Beta's coming up. So we do want to actually talk a lot about beta itself. As you guys know, we did already announce the beta dates earlier this month. So for beta itself, it's actually going to be, we'll have an early access weekend and then we'll have an open beta weekend. So early access is going to be on March 17th. We'll start on March 17th. And we actually have times of when it's going to actually start that weekend. Yeah. So we are planning on opening up servers at 9 a.m. Pacific on March 17th for early access. And it'll actually go through March 20th. until noon Pacific time. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a more of an opportunity beyond just the weekend, because obviously time zones exist.
Time zones. We know people work on Saturdays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it gives you at least a little bit more flexibility, being able to try it out all throughout Friday and Saturday, and even into Monday, depending on where you actually live. The other really cool part about the first weekend of beta is that there will be 3 classes available for players to actually check out, and that is the Barbarian, the Rogue, and the Sorcerer. So players can actually jump into beta itself during that first weekend and try it out. Remember, early access beta is only available to those that actually pre-order. So if you haven't pre-ordered and want to jump in earlier, you most definitely can.
Yeah.
And then for open beta on March 24th through 26th, those will start at the same times as well. And that's at 9 a.m. Pacific and on the 24th, and then end on the 26th or on the 27th, shall I say, at noon. So it does go a little bit longer again. Time zones. So it gives a little bit more of a time for people to jump in. And a special thing about that second weekend is?
Well, you'll get access to 2 additional classes. So you can play all 5 classes, which is important to us because the second weekend in particular, we want to get as many people as possible onto the servers. We want to stress test the game to make sure that all of our server infrastructure is in good shape for launch. And we want to get feedback on balance. So we want to have all the classes available so everyone can check out the balance, and we can make changes ahead of launch if there are problems.
Exactly. So again, during the early access beta, you'll be able to play Barbarian, Rogue, and Sorcerer. And then during open beta, you can play Barbarian, Rogue, and Sorcerer, but you can also play the Necromancer and the Druid.
That's right.
So it's a good opportunity to kind of jump in, and as Joe mentioned, stress test the servers. Speaking of stress testing the servers, and so we can get feedback and so forth before launch, there is another feature within beta that we're really excited to share about, which is world bosses.
That's right.
We do have a world boss that will be active during beta, and there will be 4 different spawns on each Saturday of beta for players to kind of jump into and check out. And it's Ashava, who is, people probably remember Ashava. Ashava is the first world boss I believe we ended up revealing back in BlizzCon 2019 and so
right.
forth.
One of our 3 world bosses.
Yeah, so players will be able to jump in. There's going to be 4 different times, like I mentioned, because, again, we want to make sure that players from all around the world can actually jump in during beta during these moments. And it gives an opportunity for people to kind of experience like a whole new thing within Diablo 4.
Yeah, Ashava is so cool. One of the really cool things about the world bosses is you can just show up there. There'll be other people for you to work together to defeat the boss. And these are huge bosses. The camera actually pulls out so you can get a better view of the battlefield. So you can see other people fighting the world boss at the same time. They have huge attacks that affect a very large area of the world. And it's all seamless. You just show up there and there'll be people. You don't have to have a group or organize anything in particular. You can just show up, fight a giant boss. It's super cool.
Yeah, and so world bosses up to 12 players can
That's right.
actually go against a world boss within Diablo 4, and I know it's recommended usually to be 20. The 25 is the max level within beta itself.
Yes. And Ashava's level 25.
There we go.
You're going to want to be close to that level because if you're fighting a higher level boss or higher level monster, you're going to be less effective. And we're actually going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about armor.
Perfect. That's a perfect opportunity for us to talk a little bit more about armor and so forth there. But yeah, the 4 different times and all the details and so forth and times that we just mentioned will actually be available on the beta blog that we do actually have up on Diablo4.com. So if people read that blog when we made the announcement about beta earlier this month, that blog will actually be updated after this stream with all those details. So make sure to check out and reference that blog for all the details and times and so forth that we kind of mentioned here.
That's right. And if you're trying to get early access, you can pre-order the game like right up until or even during the early access period, and you'll get access to it.
Awesome. That's
We
really
expect
good
to have a
hear.
turnaround time of minutes to the most. It should be an hour or so to get access.
Cool. And then a really popular question that we've gotten from the community is min specs and recommended specs. And I do want to note, if you're playing on console, on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or Xbox One or Xbox Series consoles, that is also available for beta. So players will be able to actually jump in during beta on those consoles. But for PC, we actually do have those min specs and those recommended specs that we can showcase here really quickly for everyone. I think a huge shout out to our engineers here, because in Blizzard fashion, they've done a fantastic job at optimizing Diablo 4 to ensure that as many players as possible can actually enjoy this on PC, which is great to see.
Yeah, and we're continuing to optimize right now. As you said, like every Blizzard game, we want to make sure as many people as possible can play it.
Yeah, and I know we've gotten another big question regarding like PC specs and so forth, and one of them is revolved around like ray tracing and everything like that.
That's right. Ray tracing will be coming after launch.
Yeah, so we'll have ray tracing available after launch for Diablo 4 specifically on that side. We'll have these min specs and these recommended specs also available on the beta blog after the broadcast here, but a lot of people will be able to jump in with their PCs or on consoles and actually play Diablo 4 during the beta. Preload is another big popular question that we've gotten. There will be a preload available for the beta for Diablo 4, and that will actually be coming about a week or so before the actual beta, and details on that will also be posted soon on the blog, so make sure to stay tuned to like Diablo social channels, and at the same time, just checking out the blog. We'll make sure to let people know when preload will be available, so you can be prepared and you can jump in right during the first minute of early access and so forth. And then another note about consoles is that you will be able to play co-op, couch co-op, on consoles,
Yes,
which
that's
is
right.
really cool. So if you're playing on PlayStation or on Xbox, you can have another person join you and play on and do couch co-op, which is really cool for Diablo 4 and for that Diablo experience itself. And one thing to note is that you just need access to the beta, and the second person will just both people need access to a Battle.net account of some sort to be able to experience couch co-op.
Each person will need a Battle.net account. That's
Exactly. You can create up to 10 characters per BNet account up for the beta, so you can actually experiment and try, like, if you want to go through the beginning again or something with like a whole new character or whatnot, you most definitely can.
It's a lot of. I don't know how anyone could really have to.
Maybe you're
You
indecisive.
could create 10 different characters, but there's so much content in the beta. It's a really sizable look at the
Yeah,
world.
and I know a lot of people ask about progress between early access and open beta, and like how that actually does carry over and so forth, or if it does carry over specifically from that end.
Yeah, so your progress will carry over from early access to open beta. So that'll give you more time to really get to level 25, time to fight Ashava if you didn't get access, if you didn't quite make it, and more time to fight it. You could go back and fight Ashava. You can check out all of our side quests, all of the rest of the content in Fracture Peaks. There's, like I said, it's one of our 5 zones. And it's just a huge area to explore with so much content in it that there's plenty of stuff to do. But of course, your progress is not going to carry over to the shipping game, because we want everyone to start fresh.
Exactly. So yeah, progress carries over from early access to open beta, and then of course beta progress won't carry over to the final game itself. But one thing we did want to announce, at least today, is that we actually do have some beta incentives and rewards for players that actually do partake in the actual beta test. There's 3 different rewards that people can actually earn. 2 of them are specific titles that will carry over to the final game. And all these rewards actually do carry over to the final game. That's why it's so important for us to ensure that you guys have Battle.net accounts when you're actually playing through the game and so forth. But the first title is, the title itself is called Initial Casualty, which is earned when you reach Kiovashad within the game. And I'm sure people are like, what's Kiovashad?
Well, Kyotoshad's the capital city of Fracture Peaks, which is the area, the snowy, mountainous area of Sanctuary that the beta takes place in. And it's a big city. There's lots of stuff to do. It's not that far into the game. You'll play through the prologue, get accustomed to all of the mechanics and everything, start to get introduced to some of the characters, and then you'll arrive at Kyotoshad. So it should be fairly straightforward to get this one.
Yeah, so people will be able to earn the initial casualty title within Diablo 4 by doing that. And then another title that they'll earn once they hit level 20 on at least just one character itself is an early Voyager title. So just get up to level 20 within the beta and you'll actually end up earning that title. And then last but not least, we actually have a really, I'm very excited about this one. It is a cosmetic reward that we are giving away to any player that does get that gets one character up to level 20, and it is a beta wolf pack. It's a cosmetic. It is quite possibly the most adorable thing in the whole entire world. But it is a little wolf like pack that you can actually carry around within the game. In itself, it's animated, does move around. It's absolutely adorable. I mean, you can be slaying demons with the cutest little pup behind you, which is absolutely, I don't know, I'm super stoked about it. So,
it's super cute. We're showing it on the Barbarian here, of course, but it's wearable by any class, so you get to level 20, which takes some time. It's going to take some effort, but you can get this little pup who will follow you on your travels.
It's awesome. So yeah, this will carry over to the final game, and it is for all classes. So you just need to get one character to level 20, and you'll get one, the early Voyager title, and two, you'll get the beta wolf pack. So make sure to jump into beta and actually get a character to 20, so you can have your own wolf pack for launch itself. So there's a ton of that. I know we just gave out a ton of information about beta here today. Again, this will all be on our beta blog on Diablo4.com immediately after the stream. So make sure to check out all the details and the times and all the requirements, for instance, to get those titles and the beta wolf pack itself. Oh, and one last thing, I completely forgot. During beta, we actually have another live stream planned, and that is going to be on the 24th. It'll be the first day of open beta, but we're going to do a community play live stream, so it gives you guys an opportunity to actually play with the Blues, essentially, the employees here at Blizzard, some people from the dev team and the community team. Again, more details on that here coming really soon. So lots of information about beta. Glad we got to showcase and talk about it all here today. We're going to jump into the armor systems discussion here with Meng now. And I know that the community has been really asking, especially our hardcore fans of Diablo, have been asking more details about systems and so forth. So we actually do want to jump into a little bit of a deep dive into the armor systems within Diablo 4. So Meng, take us through it.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to talk about the armor system. So in Diablo 4, armor is the major way for player to mitigate incoming damage, especially physical damage. The major way for people to acquire armor is through the 5 armor slots. There are helm, chest, pants, boots, and gloves. And mostly for fantasy reason, we made armor, chest armor, and pants provide the most armor value, while boots and gloves provide the smallest amount of armor value. The armor value on an item is depends on the item's power. And in Diablo, we use the item power value to represent the power of the item.
Yeah, and I don't think we've talked a lot about how item power works. Can you describe what it means for Diablo 4?
Yeah, so in Diablo 4, the item when they start dropping, it's based on the monster's power, and we need a value to represent how powerful this is. Like when you start getting more challenging content in the later world tier, you'll see you'll get more and more powerful item, and we need something to to evaluate that, then represent that power. So we use the item power to represent that power. And you can see that on the items tooltip. And if you you can compare the two items. If one item has a higher item power, that means that item most likely going to be more powerful than the lower item power item.
But not always, right?
Not
there
always.
might be specific affixes or things
Yep.
that are especially powerful for your build.
Yeah, exactly. And back to the armor value. The armor value actually directly tied to this item power on those armor items. It's actually scaling linearly with those item power. The higher the item power, the more armor value that item provides.
And that's so that we know that we have some baseline for how much damage mitigation the player has.
Exactly. Because of this, when you loot higher power items, you naturally gain higher amount of armor. And therefore, it's guaranteed you always have a certain amount of damage mitigation against physical damage.
And so, so armor works differently in Diablo 4 than it did in Diablo 3, right?
Yeah.
In particular for elemental resistances.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Diablo 4, this is kind of like a long story. Like we because of the mechanic, we made sure the item, the player have a certain amount of damage mitigation against the physical damage. But then we found out some monster they are doing non-physical damage, and that causes trouble for the player. Like for example, there's a dungeon boss only deal shadow damage. And that caused some serious balance problem for the encounter team, because for people who have a reasonable amount of shadow resistance, that boss is not that hard. But some people, like when they have zero shadow resistance, the boss is almost unbeatable. Like they will always get one shot for this boss.
And players at low level, they might not have access to as much shadow resistance. They might not be as familiar with the game.
Exactly. So to solve this problem, what we did is we made some change to the armor system. So armor not only absorb or mitigate incoming physical damage, we also make it absorb a certain amount of non-physical damage. So how it works is like this. For whatever percentage the armor absorbs physical damage, it also absorbs half of that amount of non-physical damage. For example, your armor absorbs 60% physical damage. So your armor will also absorb 30% of all the non-physical damage.
So fire damage, shadow damage, and so on.
Exactly. And because of this, people now also gain some amount of, not a big amount, but some amount of mitigation against non-physical damage. So that shadow boss is still challenging for people with zero shadow resistance, but it's in a much more controllable way.
And as players level up and they get access to higher world tiers, those world tiers actually have a penalty to your elemental resistances, right? So you're going to have to really make sure that you're keeping up on those resistances.
Yeah, exactly. When you get to higher world tier, we added more penalty for the player to make the higher world tier more challenging. And so you will have we put some 20% penalty from world tier 2 to world tier 3 for the resistance. So you gain 20% less resistance. And from world tier 3 to world tier 4, we put even higher penalty. It's 40%. So world tier 4 will be a lot more challenging than world tier 3.
But players have access, as they're getting up into those higher levels, they're also getting access to more sources of elemental resistance, right?
Yeah, exactly. We added the elemental resistance into various in-game system, like a skill tree, like item affixes, like a paragon system. You can acquire those resistance through more and more ways. We actually expose more and more ways for you to be able to acquire armor and resistance at the end game.
So I think you brought some charts to show, like in more detail, how the mitigation works.
Sure. So we have talked about like all the basic of how armor works. I want to dive a little bit deeper into actually how armor affect players' gameplay experience from level to level. The first thing I want to talk about is at each level we have a expected armor value for player, and based on that we calculate what's the damage reduction player can get at each level, and we balance the monster damage about that. And from this chart you can see at the beginning based on the expected armor value, you can only get a little above 10% damage reduction, but it goes up pretty fast. And at the late game, you can get like over 40% damage reduction from the armor value. It makes sense fantasy-wise because like think about it. At the beginning, you have only this light leather pants. It absorbs a very small amount of damage, but at a later level, you get this epic plate armor that absorbs a lot more. Because of this, like the damage reduction going up, player also that means that we need to make the monster deal more and more damage to mitigate this damage reduction for the player.
Sure.
And this is next. I'm going to talk about like how actually each unit armor absorb damage from level to level.
Yeah, because I think we have another graph here that goes through the
Yes.
armor.
So you see, like it's opposite to how much damage reduction we expect for player to get from level to level. It's from lower to higher, but actually the damage reduction per armor is going down with level.
So per point of armor
Yes.
that I have, this is the chart that shows how much damage reduction that one single point of armor gives me
Yes.
at a given level. Okay.
And at the beginning, like you can see from this chart, like every 100 armor can absorb about 5% of damage reduction. But it goes down pretty fast early and slow down at the end. And at the end, you can see it like each 100 armor can only absorb 1% damage reduction. We make it work this way because we want to make sure that designer have room to add more armor bonus at the end game. We try to avoid the situation like at the beginning you get to a pretty good amount of armor, then you totally forgot about this stuff. Like early on, we talked about we added like a resistance penalty to for player from war tier to war tier. That's actually for a very similar purpose. Because of this penalty, even though you have a pretty good resistance at the early game, you still need to look for more resistance at the late game.
And there are other ways that players can get damage reduction too, in addition to armor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not only that they get this, that's kind of like happen at the late game. When the challenger starts, they need to find a lot of other way. Like they can look for, like for sorcerer class, they can look for energy shield. For druid and barbarian, they look for fortified power. And for rogue class, they look for more dodge chance. So not only they build on the armor and resistance to mitigate the damage, at the late game because the challenge becomes so tough, the world becomes the monster is so harsh, they need to find multiple ways to be able to survive in this harsh world. So far I have been talking about like all of this is one player fighting the equal level monster. So next I'm gonna talk like what if you fight against a different level monster? If a monster higher than you or a monster lower than you. So this chart shows a player with 2,000 armor. What happened? How much damage reduction it actually absorb for that 2,000 armor when they fight against different level monster? And you can see like the higher the monster level is, the less damage reduction this 2,000 armor actually absorb. And you can see like at the lower level, they actually already like reach the damage reduction cap we set for armor, which is 85%. But when you for 2,000 armor, usually the player can acquire this amount of armor around level 30.
Right.
But if you see this level 30 character, when they fight a level 100 monster, the 2,000 armor can actually only absorb 5% of the incoming damage, which is pretty minimum. So that means when a player, for them to challenge a higher level monster, not only the monster deal more damage, they also penetrate more of your armor.
So I'm going to need more armor as I level up.
Yeah, yep. During level up campaign, like while you're doing campaign, or you do the open world content, it's not a big issue because most of the monsters scale with you. But when you do the end game content like a Nightmare Dungeon or Helltide, a lot of time you are forced to fight higher level monster, and in those cases, you will take this built-in punishment to for the player. So you need to find a way to mitigate that the more damage. Some people they build up their offensive power. They try to finish the combat faster so that they can take less damage. While other people they find all the way like we said. Going through Paragon system, skill tree, item affixes, and legendary power, using all the ways to mitigate that harsh punishment.
We also added damage mitigation to monsters in Diablo 4, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to talk about. So we used to not have a damage mitigation for monsters. So monster used to not have armor. So however amount the damage player deals, that's however amount of damage the monster gonna take. So it has an advantage. It's pretty straightforward. It's really easy to understand. But it also has a problem that is whenever we want to increase the monster's defense power, the only way we can do it is through increasing the monster's hit point. Like we say, from level 31, a monster from level 31 to 32, we want to increase their defense power, the time to kill by 10%. That means level 32 monster gonna have 10% more hit point or life than the level 31 monster. If you do this from level 1 to level 100, and at the end, it ends up with a super big number, like billions or even trillions. And for player to be able to kill this monster in a reasonable time, the player needs to deal billions of damage. And in Diablo 4, we show this damage number as a floating combat text. We cannot hide it. And so because the number is so big, so long, it covers a big chunk of the screen.
Yeah, it's hard to understand too.
Reading,
combat in Diablo is really fast. You want to be able to quickly understand how much damage you're doing.
Yeah.
And we're trying to keep the numbers down.
Yeah. We try to solve this problem. Also, we get a lot of feedback from community. They also don't like this.
I know the community has talked a lot about big damage numbers and so forth, and like Diablo 3, for instance, and so forth. So yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, we decided to add this damage mitigation, or we call it monster armor. So at each level, monster actually absorb a certain percentage of players' damage. It's pretty low at the early level, and it goes up at a later level. Then in our playtest, it creates a different problem because this damage reduction going up pretty fast. Player actually deal less damage when they level up. That's not what we want.
I don't want to get weaker when I level up.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to take the damage reduction number for the monster so that it always scales slower compared to the damage increase. Damage increase for the player. So it's player's damage deal to the monster still increase from level to level, but now we have a pretty good way to control how fast it increases. and therefore we get the damage number at a very late game into a pretty reasonable space.
That's good.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Awesome. Well, I know we talked a lot about the armor systems here, and even just like the fact that like monsters themselves will have armor, which is new for Diablo in itself. But I do want to spend some time to talk a little bit about strongholds, because we have Art here, who's our lead world designer. Art, I know, has been focusing on strongholds and has a lot to talk about. Strongholds themselves is a brand new feature within Diablo 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So conceptually, strongholds, they are places of importance to the world and the people of Sanctuary that have been overrun by evil. Pretty simple, right? So this way this ends up working in practice is as you're exploring and navigating the huge world of Diablo 4 in Sanctuary, there will be multiple strongholds in each of our 5 zones for you to discover. And these are completely unique. So each stronghold is a unique location. They have different stories. They have different gameplay objectives, bosses. Even some of the rewards are unique to each specific stronghold. So much like our campaign, these are private experiences. They're just for you or you and your party if you choose to bring some friends. So once you've completed the stronghold, then the space becomes something that we refer to as a public space, where you then might encounter and interact with other players if you want.
That's cool. So, like, what type of spaces can strongholds themselves end up kind of like changing to after you end up encountering them and maybe like conquering them or going through them yourself?
Yeah, so that's like actually one of the things that I'm most excited to talk about the system is that when you conquer a stronghold, there's a lasting impact on the world, and we actually unlock a bunch of additional content for you to explore and engage with after the fact. But I think I want to talk about that a little bit later.
All right. I think we have footage as well for the strongholds that we can actually like kind of throw up here, and maybe we can explain like what players are kind of experiencing, or like what they would experience when they're going through strongholds.
You brought a clip?
Yeah, I did. I found it.
Nice.
I found a clip on the floor.
Found a clip.
The stronghold you're looking at here, this is called Hope's Light. In the jagged shores of northern Scotland, there's this great lighthouse called Hope's Light, and its flame has been extinguished. The port town of Merwin nearby is particularly affected. It's the only port town in all of Scotland. They consider this a sacred place, and obviously the sailors of these perilous waters, they kind of rely on the lighthouse to navigate. So your kind of high-level objective is to just find a path through to the lighthouse and figure out what happened. As the player, when you arrive there, you notice the Drowned have risen. The Drowned are this brand new monster family in Diablo 4. They're these super mysterious creatures that kind of shamble up onto the shores from the depths of the sea. And they drag these like bells and mysterious idols with them. Nobody really knows like who they are or what they want. But one of the other things that we're super excited to kind of do with Strongholds is to try and showcase these monster families, kind of give you a glimpse into what they're about.
Yeah, because I know, like, back during BlizzCon, we actually, BlizzCon 2019, when we revealed Diablo 4, we actually did showcase the Drown for the first time. And then since then, I know we had a quarterly update blog that talked a little bit about monster families, where we even talked about, like, familiars, for instance, and so forth that were up there. But, like, yeah, this is kind of like the first, like, updated look I think people are seeing of the Drowned here in a stronghold, which is really cool to see.
Oh, legendary.
Yeah.
I never knew what it was because I was playing with the UI off. So. But actually, that might be going back to kind of strongholds at the system level, and kind of like why you, the player, might care. Strongholds, they provide you with a lot of really awesome rewards. Obviously, you slay a bunch of monsters, you kill a boss, you're going to get a bunch of XP and loot. Beyond that, strongholds also reward you with a high amount of renown. Renown is another new system in Diablo 4. And just to quickly summarize that, renown, it rewards you with engaging with various open world activities. You gain renown in each of the 5 regions of the game. And when you hit certain milestones of renown, you'll get rewards. You'll get really cool stuff like additional potion charges, skill points, even Paragon points at the later milestones. Beyond all this, like strictly, gold, XP, loot, renown, beyond all this strictly character progression stuff, I mentioned before, conquering a stronghold has a lasting impact on the world and unlocks a bunch of additional content. So when you've completed a stronghold, and in some cases you've kind of cleansed the evil as much as it can be in a world like Sanctuary, people feel safe enough to come back, and so some strongholds will actually become towns after they'll have vendors, waypoints. Other strongholds might unlock a shortcut path to a different area, a waypoint, side quests. Many strongholds actually unlock dungeons. So, if you are hunting for aspects in the Codex of Power, or you're engaging with the Whispers of the Dead or Night Dungeons endgame systems, you're probably really going to want to discover all these.
That's awesome. So yeah, just like the last stream we had, we talked a little bit about the Codex of Power. So obviously going through dungeons ends up unlocking or finding new codexes. So yeah, actually completing strongholds will unlock new dungeons that will let you get more codex or more powers within your codex itself. So it kind of opens up more and more, especially with strongholds itself. That's awesome, and the fact that it's a lasting impact on the world is pretty crazy. Can you see strongholds on the map, as you're kind of traversing through Sanctuary? And
yeah, absolutely. Just so like any other area of the game, it starts as kind of undiscovered space, and then once you've discovered it, they show up on the map. They have some iconography to let you know that, hey, there's a cool piece of content for you to go do here.
Nice. And players themselves will see tons of these all throughout, as Sanctuary that they can actually either maybe do a little bit later or come back to and so forth from that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's multiple strongholds in every region, and one of the strongholds actually have a minimum level. So you might actually discover one that you're just under leveled for. There's nothing stopping you from trying to take it on, but you're probably going to die.
Unless you're playing hardcore, and then you probably don't.
Then you make a new character because you died.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you question it a little bit. Yeah. So, and that's another question we get a lot is hardcore going to be in Diablo 4? And yes, it will be. So that's when you would question the idea of wanting to try to conquer a stronghold at a lower level. So. But yeah, with and a lot, again, this is just a brand new feature for Diablo 4 in itself. So it actually allows you to essentially just continue to add additional content to the game and change the world completely, because the fact that you can actually get new waypoints or a whole new town that you can actually interact with new vendors and so forth from that side is also just completely game-changing from that end.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the new content that you unlock, it is also kind of part of the renown system. So you complete a stronghold, and you get side quests and dungeons, and all these things also feed into the renown system. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. Kind of completing a stronghold is kind of only half of the feature, right?
Yeah.
And the other half is all the additional stuff that gets unlocked afterwards.
That's very cool. Yeah, Strongholds is sounding awesome. I know, myself, I played the game. People will be able to play it really soon, but the perks of working at Blizzard.
You heard it here first. We play the game.
We play the game. The perks of working at Blizzard. But yeah, it most definitely is a cool feature, and I've had Strongholds completely change the whole entire map, and just having even a waypoint closer to wherever you need to go for a dungeon is also really great to have. So. Of course, and Art provided here this footage here of a barbarian kind of going through. And I know this barbarian has got some legendary type of gear and some unique skills and so forth that are kind of modified based off the gear. So trying to show off a little bit of a higher level barbarian for people because the barb's just a ton of fun to play.
Yeah, super fun.
Cool. Well, I know that we kind of went over a little bit about armor systems and the strongholds themselves. We do a lot of the feedback from the last stream is people were hoping that we spend a little bit more time on Q&A, and we most definitely want to spend some time on Q&A. So we will kind of jump into some questions. We're also going to take some questions from Twitch chat as well, because I know we have chat available, and we've been pulling some throughout the actual broadcasts themselves. So I know first question that we have, and this is kind of a popular question that we've gotten a lot from a lot of people, because they want to hear more about some of the progression systems and the end game systems that are coming to Diablo 4. And I will say that I can guarantee you that we actually have a lot of progression and endgame items that we do want to talk about, and it's going to come shortly after beta. We actually even have a live stream that we are going to be planning after beta that we're going to be dedicating on those specific topics. Because there's a ton to kind of go over that. So you guys are going to see a ton of videos and a live stream and so forth dedicated to all those specific pieces, because it is probably one of the big things that everyone's asking about like, hey, how can I progress my character, or how can I continue playing, especially through the end game system. So expect that right after beta. It'll be shortly after beta. We're excited to share all that stuff with everyone from that end. Another question that we get is, is there let me see, do we have another question on the lower third? There we go. Is there a limit on the number of people you can see in the open world?
Oh, sure, yeah. So there is a limit on the number of people you'll see at any one time. And it adjusts dynamically depending on the kind of content you're doing, right? We want the exploration of the open world to feel like Diablo, to feel like a desolate place. If you're running around in this harsh world and you're being tasked to do things, or you're trying to defeat evil, but there are 20 other people defeating the same evil at the same time, you really lose that sense of a Diablo experience, right? And so we've been very careful, and we've actually been tuning it throughout the development process, tuning exactly how many people you'll see when you're out exploring an open world area. You know, Art was just talking about strongholds, and strongholds and dungeons are completely private experiences, so you'll only see people that you've invited to your party, or if you don't invite anyone, you won't see anyone, right? And then of course, when you're in public spaces, or when a stronghold becomes a public space, you'll start to see other people there. But you won't see a whole lot of people in those areas because of that sense of exploration and experience there. Now, when you're doing content that benefits from having lots of people at once, like you're doing at Java, you're doing World Boss
itself,
in the beta, or you're doing an event that the world has events that show up dynamically. If you're doing events like that, you might see more players congregate in that area. And then when you go to a town, that's where you're going to see the most other people. You're going to get to see everyone else's cool gear, and you can form parties and engage in various social activities with other players there. So our town hubs, if you think about Kyovashad and open beta, you'll see lots. It'll feel like a city. There are people running around, and then when you head out of the city into, the frozen wasteland, it'll feel like a frozen wasteland.
Nice, awesome, very cool. I know we have a few other questions here that I'm just gonna kind of spit fire out as I kind of see them. One quick question, I know people are asking if you can stream the beta. You most definitely can stream the beta. Even early access, there's no restrictions on that. So yes, you can stream the beta. You can watch your favorite streamer as they play through beta. That will all be available specifically from that. And there is a question regarding ultra-wide support regarding Diablo 4. I know we had talked about, well, at least Joe and I have talked about this specifically, that it does, the game does support ultra wide for the game itself. I think it's like the super ultra wide or something. There might be like
we support up to 3:1.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the resolutions. I'm like
so if you have an ultra wide monitor, you're gonna get to see more of the world. If you have one of the mega super ultra wides, you will see black bars on the side.
Awesome. And then PC controller support. Is there? Can you play on PC and use a controller?
Absolutely. That's the main way that I do it.
And fun fact is, it's a really great way.
I also know how to use a mouse.
Yeah, it's a great way of grabbing shots too. If you're using a camera or something like that, it gives you a stable hand for sure. Let's see. Is open beta for anyone who may have purchased the base edition? Yes. If you pre-order at all, you get actually access to the early access beta, so you can actually even play the weekend beforehand. And then, of course, open beta is just open for everyone from that end. Is Diablo 4 going to have seasons like 3? So Diablo 4 will have seasons. We're actually going to have more information on the first season of Diablo 4 as we get closer to launch, specifically from on that end. I think we had talked about in the last stream that the first season of Diablo 4 will end up starting a little after launch. So the initial game will launch during like kind of a preseason or so from that end.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about sort of the scope and breadth of seasons, how expansive they are, as we get a little bit closer here, and we'll be able to talk more specifically about what kinds of stuff are coming to season 1 and our plans to really expand that feature. But the key thing to know is that our ambition here is to make the seasons substantially meatier than we've seen in the past. Like, we really want this to be a live game that's changing with every season, introducing new gameplay elements, and it's something we're putting a lot of work and effort into developing.
There was a question about, because I know we had talked about this when Diablo 4 was originally announced, about runes and rune words and so forth. Question about runes and rune words, are they going to be available in Diablo 4 like right at launch, or is there any plans in the future and so forth in that sense?
Yeah, so this is one of the really interesting things about developing developing the game and showing it off. Like, we've tried, as we've developed the game, to talk about everything that we're doing as much as possible. And one effect of that is that because the game is in development, we're experimenting with things, and if you look at some of the shots of the skill tree that we've showed, it's changed dramatically. As we've looked at player feedback from showing it off. That's the great thing about showing stuff off, is we can get feedback from players and make adjustments, right? And that also means that sometimes we'll announce features like rune words, and we'll realize that, like, what, this needs more time to get right. And we know, especially with something like rune words, that it's something that players, because it's an existing concept in Diablo, right? Like, if we made up a name and said, oh, here's this new system, and it's super cool, and here's what it does, great, no problem. But if we say, oh, here's this new system, and it's rune words, and players say, well, I remember what rune words were, and this is not rune words, then we need to make sure that we're fulfilling the player expectations there. And so that's something that we plan to return to in the future.
Cool, awesome. In the game, are there like achievements and so forth for players to potentially like earn or whatnot? I guess it's almost kind of like, we kind of most definitely have some sort of way of being able to track like specific goals or whatnot within the game.
Oh yeah, of course. So there are achievements. There are also a number of challenges that you can do. There are class-based challenges. There are challenges that are associated with particular content. All kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, and some of those challenges unlock even like things like what we talked about even during beta, where just getting to like Kiova shot, for instance, ended up unlocking like a title or whatnot. So
a title, and when you get to level 20, you get that beta wolf pack.
Exactly.
With the wolf pup.
Exactly. I know there's a question about like WASD movement. I say it WASD. Some people call it WASD keyboard movement on Diablo 4. People are asking if potentially there was that within D4.
Yeah, so we've tried to extend so we don't support WASD movement at launch. Let me be clear on that. But what we have tried to do is really expand the way that you can customize the way you're playing, both for accessibility reasons and also because people just have lots of different ways they want to play Diablo. And we recognize that some folks want to play WASD movement, and it's something we'll continue to look into. But if you look at Diablo 4 compared to previous titles, you can do a lot more customization of like what's on your left mouse button. Our engineers have put a lot of work into like even things like, do I want to, like, if I bind something else to my left mouse button, am I going to like click to move forward, or can I move those bindings around? So you have a lot of control over which skills are in which slots and how you want to interact with the game, and of course with the controller as well.
And I know like this kind of like segues into another question I just saw, I'm going to call out names. RRMXX in Twitch ended up calling out. That's why I'm not calling out name. I'm going to butcher everyone's name. But they were asking about like accessibility options within Diablo 4, and I know we have a team that is like our UI and UX teams have been like super dedicated on making sure that we can hit as many audiences as possible with D4. And we actually are planning on going into like a detailed like summary of all the accessibility options that are going to be incorporated into D4, so that obviously more players can enjoy and take part in the world of Sanctuary. So it's actually really cool. So we'll be going into more details on that. Party size. A lot of people are asking like how big are parties within D4 specifically?
4 players.
4 players. There you go. Easy going. Let's see. Our perk. I know we haven't gone into like details about like skins and store. We will before launch, but so we'll get back to like purchase skins and being available on all characters and stuff. We'll have a whole detailed list on that. And then this is a fun question for you guys. What are your favorite classes, and would you guys plan on maining during launch? Each of you, I guess.
All right, I'll start. I usually say rogue. And that's mostly because I think we did such an incredible job in fulfilling the fantasy of having like a hybrid melee ranged class, where I can take like skills that are ranged skills and skills that are melee skills and really use them seamlessly between. That's actually something that we got when we developed the Barbarian. We knew we wanted to have this weapon master that's wielding just lots and lots of different weapons. And so we developed the arsenal system for the Barbarian. And a consequence of that development is that it solved this sort of problem we had with, like, well, do I have, if I'm a ranged class like a rogue that also, part of the fantasy is being a ranged class or a melee class or some mix, and do I have to, like, go into my inventory and switch to my melee weapons, and how does that work, right? So we were able to use some of that same tech to make it really a fun experience.
Nice.
What about you, Meng?
I'll mostly focus on playing. My first character will be a sorceress because I have that fun memory, like farming Mephisto with
all those D2 memories.
with my lightning static sorcerers. And also I play a lot of sorcerers also in Diablo 3. So I'm always like get like emotional with the fire code and the lightning kind of a fantasy of sorcerers.
For me, I think it's a tough choice between Rogue. Like Joe said, I really like the kind of like positional requirements and the fast movement pace of playing that character, or Druid. I really like the kind of the hybrid element. I've been having a lot of fun with like kind of hybrid werewolf caster builds, experimenting with them lately. So I think that might be what I'll go with on release.
Yeah, I think for me, Druid for sure. I've been playing. Druid was my. When the expansion for D2 came out, I just dropped every character and just only focused on Druid. I've always loved playing that type of class fantasy in any type of game. Even like WoW, for instance, I always played Druid. But I will say Rogue is really good. Rogue has like if you want flashy, Rogue is most definitely super flashy. Like the idea that they even have skills where you can like literally throw your daggers into someone and then jump to them is like the most flashy thing in the world. So I'm going to end with one last question because I know we've been getting this a lot, and it's regarding trading within Diablo 4. And I think there's like nuances and so forth, but people are asking, is there trading in D4? Because obviously like D3 it was almost non-existent. So yeah, it's people are curious to know how that works in D4.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and we're continuing to, trading in D4 is less restrictive than it is in D3, but it's by no means wide open trading. And we know that there are lots of players who enjoy the trading, like enjoy the game for the trading experience, and that those players would like to have as few restrictions on trading as possible. And so we want to support that to the extent that we can, but we also want to protect the core game loop of killing monsters to get loot, right? And so there are some restrictions on trading to further encourage the situation where the best way to get the most powerful loot is to kill monsters. That's sort of our overriding directive there. But you know, when you think about all the stuff that we're doing that we plan to do with Seasons and the game being a live service, we could certainly see opportunities for different trading rule sets in the future.
Cool. Awesome. And I'm going to answer this really quickly because everyone's like spamming it. Yes, there are treasure goblins in Diablo.
Oh,
People were like, are there goblins? Are there goblins? Yes,
There
there
are.
are treasure goblins in Diablo 4. So thank you guys for joining us today on the Diablo 4 live stream. I will note this is actually the end of where we will be talking about some Diablo 4 stuff. We do have one last thing we do want to do. This is not related to Diablo 4, so I do want to just like set expectations here and so forth. But we actually do have some special guests, including this wonderful pie that's sitting behind me that I'm sure a lot of people are like, what's going on? I don't understand why a pie is here. But we do have some special guests today. And I do want to introduce 3 people here. First is the GM of the Diablo franchise. It's Rod Ferguson. He's actually joining us here. He's actually going to walk in slowly. We're actually going to start to shuffle around here because we're doing this live. So
Really? We're doing it live?
we are. So and look, I get to be a reporter while I do this, but and we also have 2 other guests here. We have Neil. Oh, sorry, no problem. Neil is going to be walking in, and Esme is also going to be walking in.
Well, she's excited to do this, by the way.
I mean, I'm excited to do this.
She's so happy to do this.
But I do want to like at least let people know. We have a camera here. Look at this. We got like we're production company, everything.
Like you know what you're doing.
Exactly. So, Rod.
Jesus, that's aggressive mic placement.
Why are we here? What are we doing?
What are we doing? So basically, what we're doing is we're following up on a tradition. I like the wave of the hand, like look at that camera. You know, one of the things that our team, the Diablo team, is a bi-coastal team. We have the team in, well, actually, we're kind of like a national, international team. But when you think about our 2 main offices, we have Albany and Irvine. And one of the things we've been doing as part of the culture of the team, as we've become this one big team, is like share traditions and things that we do in the culture. And the Albany office has a great tradition around Christmas, which is they take donations for Toys for Tots. And as people donate, they're able to offer up a leader to get pied in the face. And the person who puts the most money as the donation is the person who gets to deliver the pie. And we thought that was great when it's something we wanted to do as the full Diablo team and not just have it be in Albany. And so we did that. We raised a lot of money for Toys for Tots, which I'm excited about. And weirdly, shocking, I don't know how this came to be, I was voted the one who takes the pie. So surprise, it's me. Yeah.
That's perfect. So we actually have Neil here. Neil,
Hey, how's it going?
You want to explain to everyone what you do on the team?
I am a senior character technical artist.
And donator to Toys.
And donator, and the lucky person to do the deed.
Exactly. So
This is his last day on the job, by the way. So,
Yeah.
we're
I've already packed my
enjoying
things.
yeah. I have to like trade mics here back and forth. Everyone's like, but I know Neil is going to be pieing Rod in the face, and then we have Esme over here. Esme is the wonderful person that actually prepped the pie here. Esme, like, did you put? Because this is Rod.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you went through a lot of thought about how much whipped cream there
did.
should be.
I
In
did.
fact, I think you actually have extra whipped cream
I
just in
do.
case.
We want to
it's
make sure it's
perfect.
soft when it lands on his face.
She told me the ratio of whipped cream to broken glass was hard to figure out. That was the thing she was struggling with.
There we go. So yeah, so Esme prepped the pie for us, and we actually have. She actually brought an extra can of whipped cream, which we will be adding on top of the pie. So I think, Rod, this is a good opportunity for you to take your seat.
Why does it look like Dexter's Lab? Like, why doesn't we have like it's tarped up like we're about to go kill people? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's
isn't good.
Diablo.
It's true.
It's perfect.
I've had this beard for like 28 years. This is probably the first day I've regretted having a beard for what's about to happen. I gotta say.
I will say I know the whole team, like the whole entire Diablo team is watching right now, and
They should be fixing bugs actually. Can we stop watching Diablo team, fix more bugs?
We've been hyping this up within the team, so we're actually really stoked to share it with the community as well. So, Rod, feel free to take your seat.
Take a seat.
Okay.
Why am I doing seated? I don't understand.
It
Make sure you don't run away.
yes, and then we'll have Neil. Or actually, let me put this stuff down over here. Give that over here, and we're gonna grab the pie.
This is all for charity. Thank you to everybody.
And then I think we have extra whipped cream somewhere. I believe.
That seems
I'm not
like-
sure.
That seems like an
Do we?
impressive amount.
Oh, well, maybe we don't. So it might actually hurt.
I just want to remind Neil that I have a large nose.
I'll try not to break any.
Neil,
Break my nose.
here you go. And then I'm gonna.
Nose.
Any last words, Ron?
Like, really? Any last words? Be gentle. I don't know. Like, he does.
We found the cream.
Someone else.
Esme can do it. But yes. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's all for a good cause, and I'm really proud of the team for the money that they raised. And yeah, we're happy to share this tradition as part of the Diablo team with the community.
I think that's good. That's perfect.
Oh God! So Neil, you've enjoyed working on Diablo, and
I did, yeah. And I've already, said my piece with the rest of the team.
desk
and,
is packed. You're ready to go.
All right. Well,
Want to taste it?
No, I'm sure I'm gonna get to taste plenty of it.
well, we're gonna do a countdown really quickly. And we're gonna do a countdown really quickly, and I guess in 3. So goodbye, Diablo hoodie. I'm sorry.
I feel like maybe I could narrow the taste
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Oh! And he's just rubbing it in. Yeah. All right. Well, Rod, how was that?
It's refreshing. It's good for the pores. I just rub that. I don't know.
Now under my feet. And perfect.
How do you think, Neil?
That's terrible. Now I'm just gonna stand away from this. Well, thank you guys.
Join me in my
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate us sitting it everywhere. For you guys tuning in for the Diablo 4 developer live stream. Again, we have a lot of stuff all across Diablo. Diablo 3's new season actually kicked off this past week. D2 is on a new update as well as of a couple weeks ago with the new season kicked off on their end. Diablo Immortal's got a ton of updates. They just added fishing to the game, which is really cool. And of course, Beta's coming up. Early access starts on March 17th. Make sure to check our Diablo blogs and all our social media.
Pre-order to get in early access, and you want to get to level 20 because you want that beta wolf pack.
Exactly. So thank you guys again. Thanks, Fraud. Thank you, Neil, and thanks to everyone on Team 3, Diablo Immortal team, our Diablo legacy teams, and so forth. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. And stop.